Here's your opportunity to advertise your business. Monday Night Politics will reach voters statewide. Don't miss the opportunity to get your business seen across the state of Texas. To advertise and for more details, contact Molly Finch Belt, publisher and CEO of the Dallas Examiner, by phone or by email. We want to thank our advertisers, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok followers, sponsors, and subscribers for your support during Monday Night Politics Meet the Candidates. Monday Night Politics Meet the Candidates is a forum for candidates for elected office presented by the Dallas Examiner. This forum allows candidates to list their qualifications and gives them the opportunity to address issues facing Texas voters. Now that the Texas primaries and runoff elections have been held, the Dallas Examiner has invited Democratic and Republican candidates to a forum. For details on forum dates and times, visit dallasexaminer.com or find us on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. To advertise or become a corporate sponsor, contact Molly Finch Belt, publisher and CEO of the Dallas Examiner, by phone or by email.
Good evening and welcome to Monday Night Politics Meet the Candidates, presented by the Dallas Examiner. The Dallas Examiner has presented Monday Night Politics Meet the Candidates for over 12 consecutive years before major elections. Monday Night Politics Meet the Candidates is a series of forums, not debates, but forums designed to inform the community of the qualifications, experiences, and platforms of candidates for elected office. Our sponsors are nonprofit organizations. You can view the forums on www.dallasexaminer.com and Facebook Live. Also, you can view it on the Dallas Examiner app. Tonight, and well, rather for this series of forums, our moderator is Charles O'Neill. Charles is president of the Texas Association of African American Chambers of Commerce. He was the first editor of the Dallas Examiner and was here when my father started the paper 37 years ago. Again, I want to thank you for attending Monday Night Politics and thank you for your support.
Good evening and welcome again to the September 19th edition of Monday Night Politics, hosted by the Dallas Examiner. We have our final forum for tonight is a conversation, looks like, with Judge Clay Jenkins, the county judge of Dallas County, Texas, runs our county commissioner's court. Judge Jenkins is a Democrat running for re-election to the office. He does have a Republican opponent, Ms. Lauren Davis, who was not able to be with us tonight. Judge Jenkins, welcome.
Thank you, Ed.
We'll allow you 2 minutes for an opening statement, and then we'll go into some conversation.
Sure. Well, thank you to everyone for listening in tonight. I hope to be able to have a good conversation with my friend here, and I really appreciate all of the work that so many people have done to keep us safe. I appreciate the work of the Dallas Examiner getting the accurate information out there during COVID. Our media partners have been heroes along with our healthcare heroes. So I appreciate that. We've got a lot of work to do still. We've got that ARPA funds that if we spend it right can not just help people through 2025, but that can bless generations. So that's an opportunity that we don't want to miss. We can talk about that tonight and anything else that you want to talk about. But let me just say to the community, I wouldn't be the county judge without the voters that are listening in tonight on Facebook. I really, really appreciate the support and the warmth and the kindness and the prayers that you've had towards me and my family for the last couple of years. I've got my mama here with me for moral support tonight. We went over to Two Partners Barbecue before this, and before that we were at the Samuel Rec Center at Samuel and Grand. And I want to recommend to you that if you had flooding from the storms, you can go there or to the Balch Springs Recreation Center, and you can apply for very low interest loans to get your stuff fixed. Doesn't matter if a bank has turned you down, it actually gets you a lower interest rate. We're talking a little over 2%. The terms of that can be as long as 30 years. Those can be loans to help homeowners, renters, to get your car repaired or your car replaced. So you don't know what's available to you if you don't either go online or go to one of our 2 recreation centers. You've got until November 14th to submit your claim. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Judge, thank you so much. Let's get the easy one out of the way first. What is a county judge?
So a county judge is the chief elected official for the county, chairs the commissioner's court, serves as the chief elected official for boards like the Workforce Solutions Board, oversees emergencies like we had in COVID or West Nile virus or Ebola, and does other duties as well. So in Dallas County, there's a strong relationship between the county judge and the school districts. We work on attendance, we work on making sure the transition from the buses going from a failed board to the schools work. We work on COVID safety and other types of safety in the schools. I also chair what's called Enroll North Texas, which is the push with all the insurance companies and hospitals and community groups to get you Obamacare.
Well, I've always thought, maybe inaccurately, but I've always thought that it's kind of like the closest the state government comes to your local community.
Well, that's true.
You know, and since that's the case, very clearly there have been some differences in opinion of how to deliver the services to particularly Dallas County with the current administration in Austin.
Sure.
We're heading toward a legislative session, and so kind of give us your crystal ball, if you will, about how that relationship will change to better serve the citizens of Dallas County versus what we saw when we had all the contention between over delivery for COVID.
Sure. So I think, when you look at these emergencies, what you can see with me is I'll work with anybody to keep you safe, like I did with Rick Perry during Ebola. But I'll stand up to anybody who wants to threaten your safety, like I did to Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton during COVID. I don't think I'll get a lot done with Greg Abbott by kowtowing to him. He seems to respond to a good punch in the face, figuratively. So we'll just keep doing that. If there are areas that we can work with him, then we'll work with him. But what I suspect, there's a group out there called ALEC, and ALEC stands for the American, I think, Legislative Exchange Coalition. Yeah. And it's big companies that have figured out it's much easier to buy influence at the state level and then stop any type of local control than it is to come to cities like Dallas or Balch Springs and actually talk to the people who live there. And so I don't think this isn't really a good faith discussion that we're having with our Republican leadership. It's a battle. And I could tell you that, you're going to see a kinder, gentler me, but you're going to see the same me that you've had. I'll be kind to people when it's called for, and I'll stand up for you when it's called for.
Okay. I'm not sure if that's a hopeful conversation or what, but
it's just the reality. It is what it is. Man.
So you mentioned earlier in your opening about I will say distribution, but the allocation of federal resources that have come as a result of both the CARES Act and the Infrastructure Act. And one of the primary concerns, and we talked briefly earlier about a new effort from the county with the SBA. The people I work for, black business owners, really have struggled with public sector opportunities. And we have a chance, because we've got this infusion of fresh money, to really change the landscape in opportunity. So what are some of the things that, I know you've been working on, but some of the things that you have done and some of the things you propose to do that will begin to change?
Sure. And one thing before I answer that question, a way y'all can all help me, everybody who's listening, in my relationship with the governor of Texas, is make sure Beto O'Rourke is the next governor of Texas, because I get along fine with Beto O'Rourke. You want to see two men that are kind to one another and get along? Give me Beto O'Rourke. With what we're doing with ARPA funding for small business, for black-owned business, for any small business, you can apply for grants if your business has been affected by COVID. It may still be affected by COVID. I was talking to my good friend Tommy Brown the other day, who's a pastor here in town, and I was asking him about attendance. Well, now I'm not saying churches are necessarily businesses, but you know, that's just an example. Before COVID, he had 2 services. Now he has 1. A lot of people are still watching church online. Thankfully, people who are watching church are still keeping the tithes up, and that's important for our churches. But it's just kind of an example with any business. So you can apply for that. We're looking at doing things to bring more broadband, for instance, in a collaboration with DISD and the city of Dallas, to areas that have been underserved with broadband. So if North Dallas were its own city, it would be one of the 10 most connected cities in America. If South Dallas were its own city, it would be the most unconnected city in all of America. You know, we've got AT&T and many others here in town. We got to harness all that to get broadband, because that's like electricity and indoor plumbing of today. People may think it's a luxury, but it is an absolute necessity to apply for those jobs, to take those online orders, to do those things. Absolute necessity. We're going to do some things in helping our healthcare heroes, our mental health workers, making it possible for them to see people, particularly people who are or underinsured for healthcare, through telemedicine and through opening branches in underserved areas. You're seeing that around Redbird now, and you're going to see more of that. There's a whole lot that we can do there for our small businesses, for rental assistance. Now, we don't have rental assistance for businesses, but for your employees, there's rental assistance to keep them where they are and not to put them out on the street, and that's still there, and people can still apply for it. We've got navigators that are in the courtroom when you go to your eviction hearings, but it's much better to get a hold of us before that. When you first get your paperwork, you can get a hold of my office or get a hold of the county. They can put you in touch with those navigators and help get a stream of money going to your landlord to keep you in your apartment or your home.
So how is your relationship with the other 4 commissioners on the court? I mean, are you able to work closely enough to achieve some of the things that you described?
So you know, it's obvious that my relationship with Greg Abbott is poor, but I've got a good relationship with our 4 commissioners, with our elected judges and all our other elected officials in Dallas. I've got a good relationship with Democrats and Republicans in the House and the Senate. You know, I could come up here and tell you that me and the governor have made up, but that just wouldn't be true. You know, that's just the way that is. But I can work with anybody, and on issues where the governor will work, at least until he's replaced, God willing, on January 1st, I'll work with him.
So if you were to prioritize some of the things that we've talked about thus far, be it mitigation of disaster relief or distribution of new resources to the community, kind of walk through how you approach your day-to-days, those things that...
Yeah, my day-to-day is different every day. So today was a lot about, you know, we opened our flood loan assistance centers in Ball Springs and Dallas, and so a lot of it was, you know, focused around that. And I did some prep work for this and had the morning news editorial interview before this, so I had to, you know, step away for that. And Shay and I worked on a lot of criminal justice issues. So it varies. I tell my staff all the time, nothing else matters if we can't keep you safe. We got to keep you safe, but the old ways of keeping people safe, just locking up a bunch of people, haven't proven to be effective at all. And so we've got to find smarter ways to keep people safe. I agree with what John Crusoe said about marijuana. There's just as many white kids smoking and grown-ups smoking marijuana as there are people of color, so why are 90% of the arrests people of color, right? It's selective enforcement. It really serves to put something on somebody's record to make it hard for them to get a job, to make it hard for them to feed their kids is stupid. That has nothing to do with solving violent crime. So all of it is important. People. I met a lady named Angelica and her little son and her husband at the SBA over at Samuel Rec Center, and her needs at that point and her family's needs are as important as anything else. We just try to do as much as we can do in the time God gives us.
So you have seen, I would say, dramatic demographic growth in the county just since your first election. It's a booming population. How has that stressed available resources, and how have you been able to manage? Clearly, property tax revenue is one source, but how have you managed to juggle?
So when it comes to your taxes, I think Dallas County may be the only place in the state where this is true, but your tax rate today is the same as it was 12 years ago when I came into office. Now, how do we do that? Well, there's a lot of growth in new construction. That doesn't affect, so whatever the tax rate is, if you see those cranes out there, people redoing their kitchen or building a new home, that is taking an old building that's low value into a new building or a refurbished building that's higher value. When you see land and suddenly there's a house on it, that takes that up. That doesn't affect your tax rate, but it does put money in our pockets, in the not my pocket, but in the government's hands to be able to do the things that we need to do. So we've been able to keep those low. That's good, but I'm very concerned about the lack of affordable housing that we're seeing now with all these people moving in, and we're pretty built out as it is. Now we're unbuilt out in the southeast in the areas where you really can't build out because of the floodplain, but largely we're built out, and so you're seeing school teachers, police officers, people who work at restaurants, kind of in a situation where they got to move further and further and further out, and that doesn't really serve their families or anybody else. Gentrification is something that it seems to happen everywhere, but we can certainly learn from other cities who've already been through it before and try to help the people in those neighborhoods with every tool that we can.
So, but how is this explosion in population stressed delivery of, say, healthcare, or stressed the ability of workforce, as you mentioned earlier, to accommodate that growth?
Yeah, so it can be a good thing and a bad thing. On healthcare, when I was elected, we had about 1 in 4 people who work for a living didn't have health insurance. Now that number's down to about a little less than 1 in 5. So about 19% of people who work for a living and their families don't have health care, right? I think that may even be 19% of everyone, whether you have a job or not right now. And that's largely due to Obamacare. But what we did in Dallas County, which is now a model being used in Harris County and other counties, is we had the Enrolled North Texas Coalition, where we brought President Obama's top, and now President Trump's top person for 5 states, their Health and Human Services regional director in, and I co-chair that committee with them. We work with everyone from hospitals and insurance companies to the Texas Organizing Project and neighborhood groups to get as many people signed up as we can. If you haven't looked at your Obamacare possibilities lately, you go to healthcare.gov and take a look, because with the Inflation Reduction Act that President Biden and the Democrats just passed, you've got an opportunity now to get more subsidies than you had before. So an insurance policy, the last time you looked, that was $80 or $90, might be $10 or even free for you now. You don't know until you look, and that's healthcare.gov, or in Spanish, ciudadodesalud.gov.
So have we seen, again, the ability of the Workforce Commission to manage this growth and stabilize or reduce unemployment in the county?
So unemployment, the month after COVID, was 12.6%. It was even higher in African American and Hispanic neighborhoods. It's currently down to about 4% in Dallas County, a little under 4%. And we've got about, on any given day, we'll have about 50,000 jobs that are unfilled, and they can't find people that qualify for those jobs. Those jobs may be as simple as taking a 20-hour course in logistics so that you can make a higher wage at a logistics warehouse. We've got to do as much as we can to match people to the skills and also to upgrade people. So I'll give you an example of that. You've got people that clean buildings at night. Right now, they're cleaning buildings in downtown Dallas, making $10 an hour, $10.50 an hour. At the next building over, they're making $20 an hour. So, you know, part of what we do at these Judge Jenkins Your Hired Job Fest that we have is we try to upgrade you. We find out what you're doing, and we know the employers that pay more money for that, so we try to pluck you from your low wage job and put you into a higher wage job. But you're right, it's been a pressure when you look at, we've added the populations of Ellis County and Johnson County. We've added the population that would be one of the top 15 biggest counties if a new county was created just in the last 10 years. And you know, we're going to add about 1 million people in the Metroplex every 7 years now. We'll be bigger than Chicagoland in the next 15 years.
Yeah, that's it. So, and then we'll wrap up with this one. What are the things that you will focus on should you be reelected, and if you will, in her absence, your opponent, juxtapose that against what the prospects for our counties staying whole versus.
Sure. So my opponent, you know, you look at COVID that we just had, and that's the reason why my opponent says she's running. She likens children who refuse to follow a teacher's requirement to wear a mask during a surge as being akin to Rosa Parks refusing to go to the back of the bus. She likens vaccine mandates as being experiments like in Nazi Germany. So she's very opposed to the scientific community. I think one of the big things that challenges us in the next 4 years, in the wake of the Republican Supreme Court and our governor and his team of cronies saying women no longer have the right to determine their own bodies and their own health care and whether or not they want to carry a baby. It's going to be very, very important that we have accessible and low cost or free long-acting reversible contraceptives that are available, particularly to people without insurance, who tend to be some of our younger people, right? An IUD now, and this shocked me when I found this out, but an IUD, by the time the doctor puts it into a woman, can be $2,500. And so I called together a contraceptive summit. There's a group called Trust Her that's raised $11.5 million. They are helping pay for contraceptive care at our federally qualified health centers, like one very near here, the MLK Center. And then at Parkland, we're going to do more to help people. And we're going to be partnering with Dallas College and the ISDs to make sure that we do all that we can to help prevent the pregnancy in the first place. I don't think my opponent would have much interest in that. So that's one of the differences. My opponent, you know, has said that she'll use her power if elected to try to help others in our state secede from the union. And so that's a pretty far out there thought, but that means you'd lose your Social Security, you'd lose your military protection, you'd lose a whole host of things and get really nothing, you know, for your troubles in doing that. I don't think Texas actually can secede from the union, but it kind of shows you where my opponent is coming from.
So you're running for re-election. Why should we vote to return you to office? That's your closing statement.
Sure. So, you know, let me say this. I believe that past performance is indicative of future results. And in the past, I've worked with everyone. I've listened to the community. I've worked with the community. When George Floyd was murdered, I had a Facebook conversation that night with the city manager, the police chief, then Renee Hall, and John Crusoe, and we invited, Freddie Haynes was there as well. Freddie went out and invited everybody who had the bullhorn, who was most effective in getting crowds together to protest, you know, policing in Dallas County. We had them, we listened to them. that became a working group of city managers and protest leaders. And from that, we increased right care teams, the teams that work with Parkland doctors going out with the police to help a person in a drug or mental health crisis. Look, I'm going to keep doing what I'm told by the community, whether it be the community of doctors, the community and neighborhoods they need. I'm going to fight for those communities. I'm going to fight to keep you safe. I'm going to fight to promote more opportunity for more people, because that's what the job is, and I love this job.
Very good. Thank you so much. We have Mr. Clay Jenkins, who is a Dallas County judge, candidate again for re-election on the Democratic ticket. Thank you so much for being with us this evening,
Thank
Judge
you.
Jenkins. Thank you so much.
Please vote for me and all the Democrats.
And thank you all for attending again tonight's edition of Monday Night Politics, hosted by the Dallas Examiner. We'll see you back in a couple of weeks. Thank you so much for watching tonight.
Thank you.
All right. Good job.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
Yes.
Produced by Metroplex Mobile Studio. You don't need a huge budget to make a huge impact.